BLM Brandon and the pro-Hamas caucus in the Chicago City Council has spawned more demands of more communities and businesses by pro-Hamas protesters who think they can block and bully their way into getting what they want, which is some sort of declaration of allyship with them and their interest in supporting terrorism in the Middle East, which is what it is, these ceasefire resolutions.
Well, too, keep in mind that there is a significant and rapidly growing Arab American population in the southwest suburbs in general, and in Orland Park. So I'm not surprised at all by the effort that these activists made before the city council, they call it, in Orland Park.
Village board. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it's not limited even to where there are significant Muslim populations. How about Hartford, Connecticut? That's where the state capitol is located there in Connecticut. Mm-hmm. This was during Connecticut Governor Ned Lamont, Democrat, during his State of the State address. Mm-hmm. You get the gist of it. They didn't glue themselves to the banisters in the audience, but like they lay down in front of traffic on major thoroughfares and so forth. How about in Niles outside of Woodward, the company Woodward, which is a aerospace company, contract, I think it's a sub of Boeing, among others.
A group of young protesters sending a message today outside Woodward Manufacturing. About 100 people showing up at the company's site in Niles, blocking off all intersections leading into the property. The protesters say they don't agree with the company manufacturing products for Boeing, alleging that some of those products are bomb kits being used in Gaza.
More than 27,000 Palestinians have been killed in the past 3 months. Over 11,000 children have been killed in 3 months. And Woodward, Boeing, and other companies that have contact with Israel are complicit.
Mm-hmm. So that brings us to Orland Park, where you had, during public comment section, we were just enjoying Naperville's public comment section this week. Well, during Orland Park's public comment session, a bunch of individuals got up that want this ceasefire resolution, a la the Chicago City Council. And after they had gotten done with public comment, the mayor there, Keith Pekau, responded. Then he was interrupted repeatedly. Then they had to adjourn the meeting for half an hour and then come back so he could finish his statement. But here's the gist of what Pekau said in response to those demanding that Orland Park pass a ceasefire resolution. As you say, Charles, a sizable Muslim population in the southwest suburbs.
First and foremost, I'm an American. I'm not a German American. I'm an American. That's where my allegiances lie, period, dot, end of story. And if you're an American citizen and you don't feel that way, in my opinion, you're entitled to that opinion, but you can certainly go and go to another country and support that country. And all the power to you if you choose to do that. But as long as I'm in America, as long as I'm an American, and I am, I've taken several oaths to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I will always support America's interest, which means supporting our allies and opposing our enemies, and doing what is in the best interest of America and Americans. America's official position is to support a two-state solution and that Hamas is a terrorist organization. I agree with and support those positions. In my opinion, for this to end, Hamas must immediately surrender, disarm, and release all the hostages. The PLA must declare Israel's right to exist and agree to a two-state solution. Free elections must be held in Gaza with complete oversight from the international community. And then Hamas leaders and members should stand trial for violating the Geneva Conventions, including but not limited to Articles 3, 13, 27, 30, 34, 38, 52, 75, and 93. Until this happens, let's all hope that Israel exercises all possible caution to avoid unnecessary harm to the citizens of Gaza who are not affiliated with Hamas. As someone who has been to war, my biggest wish is for this conflict to end quickly, with a decisive Hamas defeat so that the Gazan people can elect leaders that will do what is in the best interest for their people and create an environment that allows their community to thrive, where people of all faiths can live in peace, and where they and their neighbors can live without the threat of war and armed conflict hanging over their head every day.
So guess how that statement was received by the Council on American Islamic Relations, CARE, the ironically acronymed, and because that's an organization that's terrorist sympathizers, if not collaborators, certain affiliates. And ABC 7 News, Charles, your former employer, guess how that was characterized, the statement you just heard from Keith Pekau in part?
How?
If you don't like...
that line.
Yeah, if you don't like it, then leave. The typical, like, America, love it or leave it. But that's not what he said. That's not a fair representation of what he said. It was detailed, and actually, I mean, I don't necessarily, the two-state solution, I think, is off the table for the foreseeable future, but regardless, interesting discussion at the village level in Orland Park, and, of course, what we've been talking about, the drum beating to fall in line with the orthodoxy, not of the administration in this sense, except maybe the Johnson administration in Chicago, but of the identitarian socialist Spice Girls orthodoxy on Israel as an apartheid state committing genocide, which is what those sanitized ceasefire resolutions are really about. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by the aforesaid mayor of Orland Park, Keith Pekau. Keith, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, Dan. Hi, Charles. Welcome to the show, Charles.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the show yourself. And so yeah, what's the fallout from both of those exchanges during the meeting and then the stilted media coverage of it?
The usual that you would expect to see, the hate speech on social media and some hate emails, but also, especially after the media started to cover it, tons of outpouring of support as well. Not as much on social media because I think people don't want to get in the middle of that and be targeted. And that does not surprise me. But as one of my other trustees said, and you didn't play that, but I will not be bullied. I think that speaks for exactly what they tried to do the other night. Mm-hmm.
And the individuals that spoke during the public comment section, I watched most of it. Most of it, I mean, I sort of knew what they're doing, but most of it was room temperature and civil, so that's fine. Speak your piece. I don't care. But I wonder if you had any interactions with any of those individuals who did speak at public comment, or if that was just part of the show before the show, if you will.
So I had no interactions. We listened respectfully to every one of them speak, and I asked after the last one that had signed in spoke, I asked if anyone else wanted to speak, and they could come up and speak, and no one did. And then I presented my comments, and as I know you've listened to them, I basically presented the history of the region, and I didn't really even get into the current conflict. I got as far as saying that this is what the population is today, and at that point the room erupted, and I gabbled them and asked them to be respectful of me like I was respectful of them, and then they continued. And then I warned them again, and I said, if this continues, we'll have to clear the room. And then they continued, and then we cleared the room. So, and the entire room was chanting and yelling and disrupting the meeting, which you can certainly see on the video as well.
Well, if it's good enough for the Ivy League, it's good enough for Orland Park Village Board meeting, you know what I mean? This is how they get things done, or they think so. I wonder what the larger community is saying about this, particularly because you said something that I think was triggering to them. Maybe this was part of it even more than the just detailing the demographics of the region. I mean, it's like census data, and then they started shouting. But you said something about Chicago passing a ceasefire resolution. You basically said, if Chicago zigs, we're going to zag. I don't want to do anything that Chicago's doing. And I wonder if that was part of the offense that was taken.
Possibly. One individual said that we should be like Chicago and San Francisco. And, frankly, I don't want to be crime-ridden, feces-ridden, and migrant-ridden, And I don't think Orland Parkers want that either. And I said, if you want us to be like that, you should go there, because Orland Park is not it.
And from residents, I mean, other than the council and stuff, you said you're getting support. I mean, is this an issue that has really bubbled to the surface in Orland Park writ large, or is this just one of these instances where some residents decided, like in Niles outside of Woodward, like in the State of the State address in Hartford, Connecticut, they decided this is a good spot to make a stand? And it really doesn't represent sort of the discourse going on in the larger community.
Back at our meeting right before Christmas, I believe 4 individuals came and spoke and demanded this. And then haven't seen them since, although I have had a few phone calls threatening to protest if I don't meet their demands. And at the end of the day, Chicago has no role in foreign policy. I can't pick up the phone and call anyone in Israel or in Gaza to get this done. So, if I did, I'd be the Secretary of State. So Orland Park has no bearing on foreign policy, and we're not going to comment, which is what I told them in December. And I'm not surprised this happened. I guess maybe I'm a little surprised it didn't happen sooner, but certainly they're emboldened thanks to the city of Chicago and what they did and what Brandon Johnson did. So I would imagine that this will continue, but we will not be bullied and we will not give in. And the interesting thing of all of the comments that I've received, not one of them has acknowledged that Hamas, in fact, they've actually denied, some of them, that Hamas started this on October 7th. There was peace on October 6th, and that Israel has a right to exist. And if you can't acknowledge those two facts, it's pretty hard to have any kind of civil discussion about the issue.
But Keith, a lot of people, they because of demographic changes and the fact that there's a rise in secularism in this country, where people are basically non-religious, they're looking at this in a different way than the national government. And isn't what happened at your village board meeting democracy in action? As I mentioned earlier, you have this growing Muslim American population, and they basically express themselves. And
so certainly they express themselves as they're allowed to do, and we listen to that. But we're conducting a business meeting at that location, and to shout down my comments, which were all factual, everything I was giving was just facts, and to shout down my comments, to me, that's not civil discourse. It's certainly a right for someone to scream and yell. They have that right. I've fought for that right as during my time in the service. However, if that's the way you're going to conduct business here in America, in my opinion, I hope you never get things done doing it that way.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's like, look, right, you have your say during public comment, and there's time, place. I mean, you want to have a discussion on the street, then it can be, freewheeling. And in these board meetings, like everyone does, I mean, this is not really in controversy. You have everybody gets their say, and village officials want to say something, they get their say, and then you want to continue the conversation after the meeting, fine. But I mean, but the temper tantrums, like you had in Orland Park, that's it by the same people, of course, prattling on about civil discourse. I mean, is this really that much? Is that really so complicated? Just you get your say, and then I get my say. Pretty straightforward stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, you get your say, then I get my say, then you get to shout me down, and then you get to get all morally indignant about civil discourse. Right. Yeah. No, that's not how it works. By the way, did CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, that released a statement popping you? Did they talk to you? Again, trying to find common ground, another phrase that we always hear. Did they reach out to you and say, we'd like to have a discussion with you or the village board about this matter, these resolutions we're pushing?
No, as a matter of fact, in 7 years, I've never heard from CARE at all. with the growing population, as you point out, never ever have heard from them. And their first comment to me is that I'm a racist, which I said nothing that is even remotely racist. Plus, they're the same race as I am; they're Caucasian. So, if you're the way that you perceive discourse and democracy is to scream and yell when someone disagrees with you and call them racist the minute they disagree with you, that's the woke left mob. And I'm not going to give into it. That's not the America I know. That's not the America I grew up in. It's not the America I want. And I hope going forward, more Americans stand their ground and are not bullied, because this bullying goes way beyond the village board. And you know it, and I know it, that this is going on elsewhere. And people, most Americans, they don't want that. They just want to go about their daily lives. And, hopefully that's what happens in the future.
He's Keith Pekau, Mayor of Orland Park. Keith, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Dan, for having me.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.Pro Answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, this is Carl Amari.
I'm Lisa Wolf. Join us every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. for all things entertainment on Hollywood 360.
If you love classic radio shows, The Shadow, Jack Benny, The Lone Ranger, Dragnet, Gunsmoke, and many more, we have them for you on Hollywood 360.
We'll also present trivia contests with prizes, showbiz news, celebrity interviews, games, and movie reviews.
So don't miss Hollywood 360 every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
As Valentine's Day approaches and we embark on the season of love, we want to share a heartfelt reminder that the true essence of love lies not just in the words we say, but in the actions we take. At AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, our love extends beyond the personal to a profound appreciation for liberty, a love that unites us all. So here's a question for you.